our vIITSEC The Future is Now roundtable discussion with Collins Aerospace. I'm Chelsea Brony, editor at Modern Integrated Warfare, and your moderator for our discussion today. I'm chatting with Elaine Bitonti, Executive Director of Business Development for Mission Systems at Collins Aerospace. We'll be exploring how industry is answering the call for more rapid warfighter technology development, specifically with more connected and realistic test and training, and how a combined joint all-domain command and control approach addresses emerging peer and near-peer threats. Elaine, thanks for joining me today. Tell me about your experience with vIITSEC and any memorable moments you've had at the show over the years.
Yeah, sure. So I think my most memorable moment at vIITSEC was actually in 2010, which was the first year that I joined Collins Aerospace. And we were doing a live virtual constructive event on the floor. We had a simulator in our booth. We had a live aircraft flying in Iowa, and then we had our JTAC training system. And we actually qualified a JTAC on the show floor he was getting ready to be deployed, but he was behind on his qualification time. He needed to do certain types of calls. And so he saw our LVC setup on the floor. He came over and talked about, hey, is there actually a live aircraft here where he could do a call for fire training event? We worked with him and his training supervisor. And when the show floor closed that day, we actually did, he had him do a call for fire in our LVC setup, and it actually counted as some of the training he needed before he deployed. So that is probably my most memorable experience. It was really great just to see how, with an LVC setup, we could really help one of the warfighters who needed to get this training done. Otherwise, he was going to have to leave earlier from his family to get these additional qualifications in. So that was definitely my most exciting memory of vIITSEC.
That's really cool, getting to see it in action, getting to see it applied directly right in front of you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So this year, as we know, is the first virtual vIITSEC with the theme, The Future is Now. The program guide specifically calls on the training, simulation, and education community of practice to address the future in an urgent, accelerated fashion. We've seen some of that urgent need for rapid development language in a recent message from the U.S. Air Force's new Chief of Staff, General Brown's message in Accelerate, Change, or Lose. How is Collins Aerospace working to meet this demand signal?
One of the ways that we're doing that is our robust digital engineering environment for technology development. Given our strong history in our simulation and training business, we have a really good integrated simulation and modeling environment where we can integrate government tools, third-party tools, and Collins Aerospace tools to create a digital environment that you can do prototyping in before we're delivering things to the warfighter. And so that allows us to really accelerate development and try out different things from an operational perspective before we move into prototyping, which is really critical in this current day and age, right, where customers really want to see rapid prototyping. They want to see you demonstrate live capabilities. And a key enabler to being able to do that is having a robust digital engineering environment to begin with. Looking at a specific example, when you think about how we've used the integrated modeling and simulation environment to have a highly realistic experience, we've taken some of our RF modeling capability that we have, and we've been able to use that to analyze the different types of communication links that you would use in a MUM-T mission. And we can actually put that into different operational scenarios for the customer and help them see which communication links they should choose for their particular mission, for that contested environment, for the range at which they have to communicate. So I think that's a really good example of how real time we're using these tools to do things faster and accelerate prototype and ultimately capability for the warfighter.
The Army is the lead service this year. At AUSA this year, there was a lot of talk about project convergence. An especially interesting quote from Major General Gervais was, the synthetic training environment's next big challenge will be to revolutionize live training. The challenge will be to realistically simulate multi-domain operations training from soldiers through brigade combat teams at home stations, at combat training centers, and deploy locations in a live training environment. What is Collins doing to meet the warfighter demands for training at the point of need and really taking into account that live training element?
Sure. So I think, one of the things that we understand is the future of warfare requires operators who can rapidly problem solve and adapt in dynamic environments. So they need lots of exposure to the different types of problems that they're going to have to solve. So we're working on many efforts to make that a reality for our customers. I think my initial example at the beginning, back in 2010, what we did, with qualifying that JTAC on the show floor at vIITSEC shows, training at the point of need and the different types of things you can do with these innovative LVC setups. But it also requires, scalable concurrent solutions that can connect to broader exercises. And so some of the different items that we've been working on there is, we've been working for many years with the Army through our Apache Longbow Crew Trainer program, where we have the visual system and making sure that the databases and the environment which the soldiers train in is realistic to how they're actually going to operate. And then we further bring training solutions to the point of need through innovative things like our transportable Black Hawk operations simulator. I talked about our Real Fires, which is our Joint Fires JTAC simulator, brings together an integrated set of capabilities that allow JTACs to train for the certification of their mission, like I described earlier. And I think we've really brought together our proven expertise in taking the same mission training from large weapon systems trainers and making it accessible on smaller, more mobile or deployable trainers that will allow warfighters to maintain concurrency with the platform, but also fit where they need to train. So Project Convergence focuses on, joint interoperability. The focus for Project Convergence 21 is a joint focus. We know the Army has just signed an MOU with the Air Force to better collaborate. I think one of the perspectives we bring when we talk about our holistic modeling and simulation environment, as well as our various training solutions, is we have solutions that span across all different branches. We have connectivity solutions across the Army, the Navy, the Air Force. We have training solutions as well across all of those services. And so really looking at how can we enable the warfighters in a joint fight and connecting those to make sure that they can communicate and they can train as they would fight, having all of those different links available to them. I think if you think about one of our solutions, our TIX2, that takes training at the point of need to a whole new level by being able to connect live fly missions on the range, not only with simulators and constructive entities, but with other ranges using the system. So through the system, you could potentially connect forces flying both on East and the West Coast without anyone leaving home station. So I think when you really talk about training at the point of need, it's systems like that that are going to enable that in the future fight.
Well, and I mean, speaking of the TIX2, I know that's a solution used by the U.S. Navy, and there's a really cool ad highlighting it in action. So it seriously is like being in Top Gun watching it. Tell me more about what's going on in that video.
Yeah, so we're celebrating a really big year for TIX2. It's a very exciting time for us and for the Navy. We kicked off 2020 with the first EMD pod. And then after that, the Air Force signed a memorandum of understanding with the Navy saying that they were going to join the program. So again, making a truly joint capability, sharing development that the Navy has done to be able to benefit the Air Force. The first test flights this summer, we conducted those at the University of Iowa with our partners there. And we just recently completed our test readiness review, getting ready for our first flight, which will be on the F-18 at the end of this year. So we're really proud to be transforming air combat training with this system. The video is going to give you a taste of what it will be like for warfighters to train with our TIX2 and our P6 CTS solutions. So if you look at the video, it has both fourth gen aircraft like the F-18 and the F-16, and they're immersed in the same scenario with the F-35. They're fighting against a synthetic air and ground threat to enable the rescue helicopter to recover the ejected pilot. And I think one of the interesting things to note is that there are no calls from the range training officer until the end of the video. And this is because the players are actually getting their kill notifications real time through the TIX2 system. We've even demonstrated what's known as synthetic inject to live with that system on an F-18 in some of the testing we did earlier this year. So this means that the TIX2 system generated synthetic threat that was represented to the aircraft software as if it were a real threat. This results in a scenario and a training experience that has a lot higher level of realism.
I know that Collins is launching a new product at vIITSEC this year as the centerpiece of their innovation showcase. What are some of the things that make this an innovative new solution?
This is our Panorama Highlight system. It's a highly accurate visual display system that meets the needs of normally side-by-side, dual or multiple seat vehicles, such as helicopters or large body fixed-wing aircraft. The highly accurate mirrors ensure visual performance is maintained over the entire display all the way to the edges. And this gives more effective training scenarios when you're doing missions like air refueling, maritime patrol, and it gives you a cost-effective way to train those missions. We've also made a glass display system that's lighter, stronger, and quicker to install. So I encourage everyone to head over and watch our presentation around some of the proof points of how we accomplish that and what types of benefits that brings to the training system.
That ties really well into Collins' show theme this year, which is keeping warfighters more connected, effective, and safer. Tell me more about that vision.
Yeah, so from the connected standpoint, our cross-domain solution that's embedded in our TIX2, that's really enabling the 4th and the 5th gen aircraft in the video you saw to communicate. Communicate at the right security levels, which is really critical for realistic training. The overall TIX2 P6 solution is also a significant leap towards a true live virtual constructive training. As I mentioned in the training at the point of need, our scalable training solutions keep the warfighter more connected to their ability to train. If we think about the example of a pilot training on the East Coast with other pilots on the West Coast, right? That's what's keeping warfighters connected. When we talk about effective, I think the more realistic training that you see in the TIX2 video, it makes for more effective warfighters. It's more of an environment that they're actually going to be exposed to with less of those white cards, right? Really mirroring an actual combat scenario. Things like our Griffin 2 and our Panorama Highlight, they also work towards greater realism, making sure that the picture that the pilots see in the simulator is akin to the actual operational environment. So I think also when you talk about effectiveness, we have to talk about open systems and how we're enabling the customer to keep pace with the threats that will continue to evolve. So I think, looking at our TIX2 system, that's a face-conformant open architecture. So it's not only going to transform air combat training today, but it allows any third-party face-conformant app to be hosted on the system, which will allow the warfighter to keep pace with evolving threats. And so I think that's a huge part of, effectivity as we go forward, keeping pace with threats. And our investment in open systems in our training architectures is going to enable that for our customers. We're also demonstrating an ability not just to evaluate how well a user did, but how demanding it was for him or her as an individual through some cognitive workload research that we are working on as a team and will be integrating to our future training solutions. And then I think finally, from an effectiveness standpoint, our optronic solutions provide advanced heads-up displays, enabling warfighters enhanced situational awareness and augmented vision. When we talk about safer, the enhanced situational awareness and optimized human performance keep the warfighter safer in operations. And our solutions really, our goal and our technologies are all geared around enabling the highest fidelity mission rehearsals. This is especially critical for platforms like the F-35, where we have to give the trainees high consequence activity practice in a highly safe and realistic environment like the Griffin 2. That way they will be prepared for the eventual operational deployment.
Absolutely. So So tell me about some of the technologies you're working on that really capture this futuristic element of this year's theme.
So I think there are some significant milestones coming up next year, like milestone C for TICS2, but we're also excited about more opportunities to collaborate and iterate with our customers and partners. We're really looking at how we can utilize our baseline modeling and simulation capability from an operational analysis standpoint to help customers with their exciting upcoming events like Project Convergence 21, like ABMS demos and orange flags. So we can take customers' problems and using our realistic modeling and simulation in digital engineering environments, we can model different things and work with customers around what type of solutions should they choose, what are the trade-offs of different choices of system level performance that they may make. And I think that level of collaboration with the customer is really what I think about when I see us going towards future solutions. We're really looking forward to Project Convergence 21, ABMS demos, the Navy's Project Overmatch, and Northern Edge 2021, where we're working on a variety of different efforts that contribute to core fundamental battle space communications. And we see ourselves as a leader in the connected battle space dominance fight.
It sounds like this is a really big year for defense. There's a lot of exciting things on the horizon. Elaine, this has been a very educational and compelling conversation. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us and enlightening us about shifting expectations of test and training and the different ways industry leaders like Collins Aerospace are tackling the implementation of the CJADC2 approach. For more insights from experts like Elaine about the evolution of the multi-domain battle space, visit www.modernintegratedwarfare.com. Thanks for joining us.